Tracee Ellis Ross, you play Rainbow Johnson on Blackish, and the show just finished its third season, but it was a season of firsts, including your first Golden Globe nomination and win. What was that moment like when they announced your name?
When I won? Honestly, it's so funny. I apparently just went like this and stuck. You know, it was really, it was like an adrenaline rush, but it was also, I don't know, it felt very exciting, not just for me, just in general. I think it had been 32 years since a Black woman had been nominated in that category. So it felt like it was much larger than me and that it wasn't really just about me, which I think is what spawned the words that came out of my mouth. I feel very proud of our show. So it was a culmination of a lot of really interesting feelings that were really all really good.
I remember you talked on Ellen after the fact about how you almost lost the Golden Globe while changing your dress. Do you keep it in a safe, secure place now?
It is actually, I'm surprised I did not have it with me in this interview. I should run upstairs and get it, honestly. It is in a safe space. It is in my office, and it does not move. Although I do have to say that my stepsister just came over who lives in London, and I haven't seen her in a while. When she came over, she's like, "Where's the Golden Globe?" I was like, "Let's go visit it, shall we?" And she remarked on how incredibly substantial and heavy it is, which is why it makes sense that I had sat it down on Golden Globes night, because I couldn't change my dress while holding it, and as a result, I left it in the bathroom.
Well, it just goes to show you the how complicated it is dressing for an award show, especially for women. So if you're nominated again at the Emmys later this summer, are you considering just wearing a t-shirt and jeans to the ceremony?
You know, if that were an honest option, I might choose it, but I do have to admit that I love the clothing part of it. It is clearly a part of our job, and it is work because it takes a lot of work, and it is something that, although it looks incredibly glamorous and luxurious, it is a genuine job trying to get, the getting dressed, the help you need with all of that. And it is a big part of the career as women, and it's an expectation that is unspoken, strangely. So although I enjoy it and would probably not opt for jeans and a t-shirt, I do think that people underestimate the expectation that is on women.
I think it might be because us men are lucky that we wear a tux and we're good to go. You should maybe just, instead of t-shirt and jeans, you could wear a tux. Be very subversive at the Emmys.
Even if I wore a tux, I would probably opt for heels, and I think that's where you guys win.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt that at all.
So what we're basically saying is that it shouldn't just be equal pay. We should get paid more.
That I think that would be fair.
Not only in order to make up for the pay that was not equal, but adding in this extra expectation in our job, we should be getting paid more. I think that's the conclusion of this part of our conversation, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, it's just hazard pay from I've never worn high heels, and so I have no desire to, so I can't imagine.
Well, we will state for the record that it was you that brought up this idea, and I will agree on record that there should be hazard pay for the heels, or at least a reflexologist that meets us in the back.
And you had another opportunity, of course, to wear heels and a wonderful dress, because the show was also nominated for the first time for Best Ensemble at the SAG Awards, and that was different because you'd been recognized, nominated individually for your performance. But what was it like getting to share that with the entire cast of Blackish?
It's interesting. It was wonderful. And you're right, we started this interview and you said this was a year of so many firsts. It was my first time nominated for an Emmy. It was my first time nominated and winning a Golden Globe. And then it was the first time all of us got nominated as SAG Ensemble, which was honestly something that I wanted for a long time, because I think so much of what our show is the chemistry between all of us. And I don't, by the way, just mean the cast. there's a beautiful chemistry that we have with our extraordinary writers. And there's a way that they write for these characters and for us, and that we sort of breathe life into that is this ensemble that we are as a show. It's one of the things that I love about television, the fact that it's such a collaborative art, and it's something that requires all aspects of the group in order for it to work. I mean, if the camera people aren't catching it, nothing's gonna, no one's gonna see it. They could miss the most wonderful moments if they're not wonderful camera people, especially when there's like sometimes improv that occurs. And so the SAG Awards, especially because it's the SAG Awards and you're being nominated by your peers, was a really special moment. But it's also what I said, when I won that Golden Globe, yes, I felt like it was me that was nominated in that moment, but it was me as a representation of the collaboration that we all do on our show. The writing, the extraordinary writing that gives me the platform to be able to do what I do. You know what I mean? Like it all happens together. So the SAG Awards was amazing, and truly, I think that our writers are exceptional on our show. The way they enter into these issues, all the things that people talk about our show in terms of how we handle these heavy subject matter, sometimes on a comedy. And I think the doorway that they enter a lot of these subjects through is so interesting and what makes our show so special. So yes, it was an exciting thing for us to be nominated in the ensemble category. That was a very long-winded way of me saying that.
And to mention some of the hot button topics that the show has dealt with, of course, last year you had that episode Hope about protests against police brutality. This year the show had Lemons, which was about the election of Donald Trump. What were your feelings going into that episode, and how the whole election kind of changed the atmosphere in terms of the cultural world that the show is living in?
Well, the truth is the election didn't change the cultural world that we were living in. I think that was actually part of what the episode was about and what Dre's character was talking about. But it was a special episode that was written very beautifully, again, by Kenya, very much speaking through Dre's eyes. I think there were some really special episodes for Bo this season that I thought were really exciting. The Being Bo Racial episode was exploring something that's been on the wallpaper of our lives. The fact that Bo was upset with her son, with Junior, dating a white girl was so odd and intriguing to me, because I don't think anyone would have expected that from Rainbow as a character. As open-minded and open-hearted and liberal as her background is, and as a feminist and all of these different things that she is, I mean, it was unexpected for me. I was like, wait, what? And it's one of the things that's so fun about our show. Bo does not share, I do not share a point of view with Bo. She is not me. And although we are both mixed, her point of view of being a woman of mixed heritage is not the same as mine. So it was really interesting to explore some of that stuff. And again, handle it the way our show does, where there's not some specific answer we are giving of there is a right way to do this. It's sort of like a limitation of these characters, mostly and usually Dre, sort of comes to the forefront, an area where he's a bit small-minded, and in this case, Bo, a bit small-minded. And then we get to kind of delve into her background so she has something to explore, and then she grows a little bit, So that was a long-winded way of saying, yes, we have handled, and even the finale, the fact that we were dealing with preeclampsia and what that means that so many women experience as, the different complications that can occur in pregnancy, especially when you are not a 22-year-old mom.
Yeah, and it's interesting the contradictions within Bo, in being Bo racial. And I remember also the episode where she's pregnant and she's trying to fight discrimination against being pregnant at work, while then discriminating against her maid for the exact same What was that like?
That's one of the things that's so fun, is we're like flawed people. Like, we are not perfect. I remember even the Johnsons versus Johnsons episode, when we were dealing with the fact that Dre's sister was getting married to her girlfriend, and who was going to take whose name. And it brought up this conversation between Dre and I that Bo had not taken Dre's name because her maiden name is Johnson. And I just like or Bo introduced herself as a feminist in that episode, and yet some of the things she said were so wrong. I was like, Tracee was like, that's not right. Like, so there's all these ways that these characters are so wonderfully human and flawed that it's really fun as an actor. And I think it's been really fun for the audience to kind of watch these people stumble around like idiots half of the time, and at the same time explore some of these issues. And the kids end up always being the ones that teach us the lessons. I mean, they're like the smart grown-ups, and we're like these idiot buffoon parents.
And mentioned that that season finale dealing with preeclampsia and Bo, having that medical emergency with her pregnancy. That goes to an emotional place, especially when she's about to have the emergency C-section and she's really afraid of what will happen. How did you prepare for some of those scenes?
I didn't do much preparation. I mean, the writing is wonderful, so it kind of lends itself to where you need to go. Because the writing is so good that you kind of travel there as you're saying it. I think the one thing that we had to do was, our set is usually a very light and bouncy and silly and playful set. So we had to kind of clamp down a little bit more than expected, or not expected, more than usual, in that between takes and stuff, we're usually really silly and there's like a lot happening. First of all, I was like stuck to that hospital bed. So like even between takes and when we were turning cameras around, I just stayed there because I had so much stuff on me and I was so in that bed. It was not easy getting in and out of it. So I think, I don't know, there wasn't much difference in preparation. I think when one thinks about the idea of losing a child, or losing one's own life, or not being there for the loved ones that you care for, emotions very easily move to the surface, and the writing sort of did most of the work for me.
In terms of the Emmys, what's interesting is that a lot of times pregnancy and childbirth storylines can be good luck charms. Candice Bergen, Helen Hunt, Jennifer Aniston, they all won Emmys for episodes where they gave birth. So do you think that's the key to taking down Julia Louis-Dreyfus finally this year?
Who the hell wants to take down Julia Louis-Dreyfus? If anything, I want to jump in bed with her. Are you kidding me? I mean, Julia Louis-Dreyfus is like one of my heroes, and I think everyone's hero. And here's the thing. The Emmys are extraordinary. All of these award shows are extraordinary. I'm not going to lie. It's a dream come true as an actress to be in this position where we're even talking about nominations, where I've even been nominated. But the idea that there's a competition that one wins and another doesn't is sort of like neither here nor there. Her work is exceptional. She is one of our greatest comedic actresses that exists in my mind. The freedom with which she dives in, her intelligence that she brings to her work, all of it has been an inspiration in my career. So do I want to take her down? I don't know. Do I want to have coffee with her, dinner with her, and maybe like watch a movie with her on a weekend? Sure. But I feel like I could list a whole bunch of other actresses that are possibly in this category that I would want to do that with as well. So, I mean, I do like this idea that you said that childbirth, not because of what that means for me, but what that means in our culture, is something that is deserving of awards. I think there are so many things that women do that are extraordinary, and giving birth is obviously one of the big ones. But I think a lot of the performances that have come out of this last year of work and what's happening for women on television is so amazing. Childbirth and many, many and other things, seeing the expansive humanity and the experiences that women have portrayed on television. So, I would love to win, but I don't want to take anybody down at the same time. How's that for an answer? That was a really long-winded answer. I mean, I think of Lily Tomlin. I mean, she's like my childhood hero, and I just watched Grace and Frankie, and that show's fantastic. She's freaking amazing. I'm trying to think, there's so many others. We could go down the list, right? The amount of performances. And what a great thing to be even talked about in the context of this kind of work.
Well, we'll declare a 6 or 7 or 8-way tie, depending on however many nominees there are this year.
I'll take it. If I can make anywhere near that, I'll be happy.
Now, what's interesting about the way that the Beau's family expanded this season with her brother and her sister, and also, of course, bringing in a new baby in the season finale. Then she's also sending away another a child, Zoe, who's going off to college, and her own spinoff on Freeform, Yara Shahidi.
Yeah.
Do you know if she's going to still have a presence on the show, like maybe guest appearances or crossovers?
I think she is. I think I don't really know. As a, I'm not a writer, and so it hasn't. I don't think all those stories have broken and all those kinds of things. But I believe that the college-ish show is not coming till the mid-season. So I think until then, I think we will get hopefully some Yara, so that the family doesn't have to break up completely. But people have also asked, like, will you and Dre show up on Colleges? I was like, well, we'll still be her parents, so I would imagine there will be opportunities for that. I don't think she's getting new parents, as far as I know, and I don't think we're getting a new daughter that's gone off to college. So I'm sure it will be a part of it. But I think the core of what our show remains the same, whether different pieces come and go, whether things get added or things get removed. If you think about the characters of Ruby and Pops, it shows you that, like, they're not in every episode, but they are inherent in the dynamic of this family. And I think that's the same with Yara, or with Zoe's character, that she doesn't have to be in every episode in order for her to still be a part of this family and for our show to maintain what it is, and the integrity of what it is. So, but I'm so excited for her, and I think the show looks fantastic, but it is also a little bit bittersweet because it'll be strange to not have her be a part of every episode.
Beau's relationship with Ruby, that sort of rivalry, is one of the best parts of the of that character and that family dynamic. But she also got
the best parts of everything. Jennifer Lewis is one of the best parts of everything. But please continue.
Yeah. Well, in the season finale, where she was Beau was having that that childbirth scare, she did actually get that tender moment with Ruby. She sort of let down her guard and called her daughter. What was that like to play with her? That kind of that warmth between them all of a sudden.
Oh, it was so lovely. We got the sick episode. Was it last season? I believe we were stuck in bed together, and we didn't get that necessarily that love, but we actually got to see a glimpse of their connection and their love for each other. To tell you the truth, in that moment, the two of us could not help but to cry, and we had to pull it back because in the arc of where we were going in the episode, it just didn't really match. But it was, Jennifer's a wonderful actress and a woman that I actually adore. Like, I just love her. She's someone I talk to, I call her and we have a relationship. So it was a very special moment, even though it was like a blip in the context of the episode and it really wasn't the place where the emotion was supposed to spill. It was one of the places as two actors that it was hard for us not to let that spill. And it needed in that moment a little bit of humor, but I think both of us as actors wanted to just weep.
Well, I know Daveed Diggs has he's doing this new show, Snowpiercer show, coming up soon, and Rashida Jones, of course, is busy. And do you know how much more we'll get to see of them or the rest of Beau's family in the upcoming season?
I talked to Kenya a little bit about it. We were just chit-chatting, and I think the hope is that both of them get to come back because the dynamic was really great. And it really, for me, the experience, not just personally, but in the dynamic of the Johnson family, it was really, there was an interesting turn that occurred when it was no longer Dre and his group against Beau, where I'm the only one that was kind of holding down this other point of view. And it kind of validated the world and the way of thinking that Beau comes from outside of, so that it wasn't just that Beau, or isn't just that Beau is an outlier in her way of thinking, that she actually comes from a world that thinks that way too. So I think the hope is that we get to play with that dynamic more, and that both of them somehow, with their massive careers, allow themselves to be available for at least a couple of episodes where we can play around with that.
Well, I certainly hope for that, and certainly hope for more adventures in new motherhood. Like, what do you think the new baby? How do you think that'll change the dynamic next season?
No idea. You know what I was saying? I was like, basically, what I think should happen is Bo should pump off camera, and she should leave Dre at home, and Dre should take the leave of absence, the whatever you call it, for I can't remember what you call it when the dad leaves.
Paternity leave.
Paternity leave. He should take the paternity leave from work, and Bo should go back to work. Okay. And instead of Dre's going to work, it should be me going to work, and it would be the cast of idiots at the hospital. And I don't mean idiots as in the kind of people they are. I just mean, those characters in that office are like nuts. They're nuts. The things that come out of their mouth, I'm like, oh my God, are we allowed to see that on television? I can't even believe it half the time. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, I'm looking forward to certainly more of that, and best of luck for that 6, 7, 8. Like, just get 10 women the Emmy for Best Comedy Actress, as long as you're one of them.
I thank you for that. I bow down to your words, and yet I love this idea of all of us winning the Emmy.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me again. I look forward to it every year.
Thank you.